Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Courtney Ryan, and today we're going to be doing our 500K Q&A. I'm a little late to the game here. We're a little bit past 500 at this point, but that's all right. We're getting it done. And before we get into any of the questions today, I want to first start off by saying thank you. To have the opportunity to help so many of you is an absolute dream and a privilege that I never even could have imagined for myself. Whether you watch me for my style videos or personal development or with the hopes of elevating your dating life, it is just an absolute pleasure to be able to help you, and I feel so incredibly lucky. Before I start crying, let's get to the questions. First one here, coming in hot. This was probably the most asked, or one of the most asked in the Q&A. If you aren't familiar, I posted a Q&A questionnaire thing on my Instagram story, and you guys submitted a ton of responses. There were quite literally thousands. So I tried to pick the most commonly asked ones just because obviously I want to try to help as many of you as I can. Most of them are, questions that you guys have about your own situations, dating, personal development, all that kind of jazz. And then towards the end, I threw in a couple questions just about me in case you're interested. I don't know how many of you are interested in me personally, but there was a lot of questions about me as well. So I threw in a couple of the most commonly asked ones. First question, as I mentioned, coming in hot. Thoughts on finding a girl overseas? Thoughts on the passport bro movement? Again, a very commonly asked question that I got. I do have some mixed feelings about this one, and unfortunately don't have a black and white answer, how typical of me, but let me try to explain. I absolutely understand this from the perspective of wanting to be with someone who shares maybe traditional values or traditional gender roles, similar values to you, where you feel is most compatible for creating, a healthy relationship with more traditional values. And just really in general, finding a partner whose values align with yours. I totally understand that. Western society has kind of gone off the rails a little bit, so I get it. Relationships are very different now. I believe social media has a lot to do with this. And there are other places in the world that follow more of a traditional, kind of relationship path. But I just can't get behind this from the perspective of I can't find a woman in the United States who will date me or wants to marry me. So I'm going to go to another country and find a woman that I can manipulate or control. Again, as I mentioned before, if every woman is the problem and nobody wants to date you, it might be the best for you to consider that maybe you might be a contributing factor or part of the problem. And I will say this too, I think social media makes it seem like women are a certain way here in the United States. And while I do believe that's true for, a percentage of the population, I know for a fact that not every woman in the United States of America acts like the girls who go on podcasts, or even some of the girls I've interviewed on my channel. And I am sure that most people trying to find a partner are not doing this for malicious intentions with, the thought that, I'm going to go try to control somebody or manipulate them or find a desperate woman who wants to come here and whatever it is. Like, I just really don't think that's the majority, but I have to say it because I've seen some really nasty things online or some just kind of icky things that I've seen men say in podcasts or in videos that it comes from a place of wanting to control someone. I've just seen some things that make me feel like I need to mention that. Again, do I think it's the majority? No, I think most people just want to find a happy, fulfilling relationship. And sometimes that might require getting out of where you're from or, going somewhere else for a little bit. I personally know a couple people who have found their spouse in another country and it's worked out beautifully for them and they have wonderful marriages. So clearly it works for some people. I think as long as you're going in with the right intentions, totally fine, and I can understand it. The next question is top 5 places for young people to meet, where to find high-value women. There were a lot of different questions. They were worded a little bit differently, but essentially they're asking the same thing. If we're talking about young people specifically, I think school is a really good one, whether you're in high school or college. A lot of people meet their significant others in school. Local clubs and groups that you might be involved in. Places that you frequent often, might be a cafe, might be a rock climbing gym, might be the library. Next would be some sort of fitness class or the gym. Again, I know people are a little bit hesitant to approach at the gym nowadays, and I get it. But I think if you meet someone naturally or just strike up a conversation with someone, it can go from there. Obviously, don't force this one and do your best to read the room. But I personally know a few people who have met their significant other at the gym or a fitness class. And then for young people, I think the last one I would say would be mutual friends or even online dating. A lot of my friends have met their significant others online. I met my fiance online, so I think it's definitely becoming more common. I know there are people who do not have success doing that, so understand what works for you and what doesn't. If online dating is not for you, I think mutual friends can be a really great way to meet people who are maybe similar to you or are interested in similar things. I mean, if you are sharing similar friends, it could be a really great way to get to know someone that way. And then where to find high value women, I think this one depends on you and what you would consider to be high value. I think you kind of determine what you consider to be valuable to you. So if you value someone who takes care of their health and wellness, maybe you meet someone at the gym or at a fitness class, like I said. Or if I valued someone who was successful in their career, maybe I would meet them at like a local business event or a networking event. I did a video kind of a long time ago at this point. It's crazy how fast time goes by about great places to meet high value women. So be sure to check that out if you haven't seen it already. Whole Foods could be a good one. I would try to stay away from bars, clubs, things like that. That would just be me personally. If I was a guy dating, I would not really want to meet a girl that was doing that if I wasn't into that myself. If you're a guy who's really into going out, partying, clubbing, you do you. If you're someone who's more of a homebody, you don't really like to go out, you take care of your physical, mental well-being, you don't drink, you probably wouldn't want to meet a girl at a bar or a club. Do you see the disconnect there? So just really think about what values are important to you and where someone who shares those values would be, and go there. Question number 3 is, will you have a panel of questions for men to answer in a video? I got a lot of questions like this if I'm going to bring men on my channel, as I've done with women recently, and the answer is yes. So stay tuned for this. I'm not going to say too much. I don't want other channels stealing my ideas, but if you are a man in Cleveland and you would like to be featured in a video, please DM me on Instagram and we can talk about it. Next question is, would you say there's a point to keep pursuing or move on? Yes, I do think that there's a point when you have to make the conscious decision to either take your time, effort, and energy somewhere else if it's not being reciprocated and move on, or, you keep pursuing. Pursuing is when someone is showing those things back to you, though. And I think a lot of people don't know the difference between pursuing and chasing, and they often cross that line between the two and end up chasing, when in reality, that's not pursuing at all. There's a fine line between pursuing and chasing, and knowing when to walk away is often the border between the two. And I think the reality is that if you're chasing somebody, that means that they are quite literally running from you. Like, that's what you're doing when you're chasing. You're running after somebody, and I don't think that's a healthy way to start a relationship or a healthy thing for you to be doing. I think, if you're giving your time, effort, and energy to something or someone and pursuing them, they should be giving those things in return back to you, and that is what is considered pursuing. But again, very different than chasing. I mean, if you've showed interest and you've asked this girl to hang out with you, you've tried to make plans with her, she continues to cancel on you, she's flaking last minute, you've done what you can do. The ball's in her court. Clearly, you've showed interest, you've done what you need to do, and if she's not reciprocating that or not following through with things, you gotta go elsewhere, or else you're just wasting your time. My next question here is, what places have you or your friends had the most success finding good men? So if you don't know, I met my fiance on Tinder. This was 5 years ago, so things were a little bit different then, but yes, I met my fiance on a dating app. Nowadays, I don't necessarily think that Tinder is the move. I think that there are much better dating apps to meet people on, and I've gathered from talking to people that Tinder is more of like a very casual thing, a hookup-oriented thing, and that was not at all what I was trying to do when I started talking to my fiance or when I was seeking out someone on the dating app in the first place. I've always been a very relationship-oriented person, and again, things were very different back then. So dating app worked for me. And I have a couple of friends actually who have met their boyfriends on dating apps. My friend Hallie met her boyfriend on a dating app. I actually have a couple other friends who have met their significant others on a dating app as well. So again, no, this doesn't work for everyone, but it works for some of us. A couple of my best friends have met their husbands in high school or college, so school. And then one of my other best friends met her husband at a church group when they were in high school. So they've known each other for a really long time, started out as friends, and then took off from there. They got married a couple of years ago. So kind of all over the place, but mainly I would say it's dating apps, school, and like a local community or group like church or something like that. Next question I love, and it's how to keep or rekindle the spark in a relationship? This is such a good question, and I would actually really like to start to talk more about relationships, like once you're actually in the relationship on my channel. I know that a lot of you guys are single and you're dating and you're not in a relationship, so that's why I've kind of been hesitant to make more videos about this. But then there are also a lot of you who let me know that you're married and you watch my content to do just this, keep or rekindle the spark in a relationship. I would say, from my own personal experience, things that have really helped me are continuing to date each other. I think this is really important, and continue to put that time and effort and energy in the same way that you did when you first started dating. I think making sure that you're not getting complacent or too comfortable and taking that other person for granted is really important too. I think this is why a lot of relationships tend to feel a bit stale. And I do want to mention that there are highs and lows in relationships. Not everything is going to be sunshine and rainbows 24/7. You go through kind of ebbs and flows of, things being really great, and then sometimes things get a little bit, routine or comfortable. That's not always a bad thing. I find comfortability to be incredibly comforting. I think a relationship should feel comforting to you. But again, I think it's also really important to make sure that you're still putting effort in the same way you did in the beginning. And something that I think is really helpful for this is continuing to date each other. So whether you go on a one night a week date night, a monthly date night, do something that you've never done before. I think it's important to incorporate this into your relationship so that you continue to learn things about each other and grow with each other and keep things fun. This could also be trying new things together. Maybe you do a cooking class, going on a trip, spicing things up in the bedroom. So many directions you can go with this one, but again, making sure you continue to date each other, to put in effort. Like if you get home from work and you guys don't even talk to each other, you sit on opposite ends of the couch and watch TV, or you're sitting on your phones, you're not actually spending time together at all. That's not productive for your relationship or interesting at all. You really have to put in effort. And honestly, I think this is really where so many relationships fail and go south, because you take each other for granted, you get too comfortable, you get complacent, you let yourself go physically, mentally, emotionally, you aren't having fun, you aren't dating each other, you aren't getting to know each other, and it's like, what's the point? That's not what a relationship is supposed to be like. You really have to make a conscious effort to spice things up and try new things and date each other and still make sure that you're having fun. And maybe sometimes that means telling each other how much you mean to each other, giving them compliments, making them feel special. It goes a long way. My next question is most attractive hobbies for men from a woman's point of view. The reason why I wanted to answer this one is because this one is going to vary depending on the woman. We typically tend to gravitate towards people who we have things in common with, or we share similar interests with, or that we could share hobbies together and enjoy doing them together. So if I were you, I would not get too caught up on this. I did a video in the past of the most attractive hobbies for men according to women, and I was going through a study done by a dating app. And basically what they did was they took the, top profiles or the people who had the most success on the dating app and looked at what they had listed as their hobbies and their interests and ranked them in order from most successful to least successful. But honestly, again, this just depends on what you're personally looking for. Some people really don't care about this that much. I don't have a ton of hobbies. My fiance has way more hobbies than I do. And I, personally find myself liking a few of them because they're things that I also enjoy. And you don't have to like every single hobby that your partner has. Like if you're a guy who really likes video games, the girl you're with might not be into that too, and that's okay. I think it's also important to enjoy doing things on your own. You don't have to do everything together. But I do think it's also nice when you have things in common that you enjoy, participating in together or enjoying together. Some of my fiance's hobbies are things that I really enjoy doing with him. Others, not so much. I find a lot of his hobbies attractive, but there are many women who would not find his hobbies attractive at all. And would actually probably be the opposite. So again, I think it depends on the woman and what she's interested in too. This is all about compatibility, right? And finding someone who you share, core values or common interests with. You're not going to be compatible with everybody, and that's okay. But I think this is a part of, being in a relationship, is finding things that you enjoy doing together. What are your core values, shared interests, and things like that. So again, will vary depending on the woman. I'm not going to tell you X, Y, and Z are the most attractive because it really just depends on the woman. My next question is, can men and women be friends? a tough one, and another one that I think is not necessarily black and white, and there's a little bit of gray area here. I think women have an easier time being friends with men than men have being friends with women, if specifically they find the woman to be attractive. Of course, there are nuances here for friend groups or maybe someone that you grew up with or have known forever. So please keep this in mind. I cannot speak for absolutely everyone on the planet. I'm just a girl from Ohio, all right? But I will say this from my own personal experience. Every single guy that I have ever been friends with my entire life, except for one, has had to stop talking to me and being friends with me because they developed feelings for me or were in love with me or could not just be my friend. And I know a lot of other people have had that experience. I did not have an issue being friends with any of these people. I was happy to be their friend. This was like in high school too, so I think it's a little bit different than when you're older. I also think it becomes a bit tricky when you have a partner. Like, I don't know about you, but I personally would not be comfortable with my fiance going and hanging out one-on-one with a girl he met in his adult life and like was BFFs with her. I just personally don't find it necessary to have a best friend or a friend that you hang out with a lot of the opposite gender if you're in a relationship. Again, there's nuance there. That's just my opinion personally. I don't think my fiance would also love the fact if I was hanging out with a guy one-on-one. It's like, I have him. Why would I need to hang out with someone else? You know, going on double dates and things like that, I think is very different. If you are friends as a couple, can be different. So again, this is not black and white. There's obviously gray area and nuance, but to break it down simply, I think women have an easier time being friends with men than men do with women that they find to be attractive. Next question is my favorite. It's, what are simple ways to show love to your man that women don't think about? A woman actually submitted this question. I love it so much, and that's because doing this work here on YouTube, I have learned so much about men from this YouTube channel, whether it's, you know, researching for videos or just interacting with you guys. It's been so helpful for me and my relationship personally to learn the things that I have about what men want and like in relationships, what they look for in women, what they value, what makes them feel loved. And of course, this is going to vary depending on the man. I think a lot of us feel love in different ways or feel most loved. Some of us feel the most love through physical touch or others through, acts of service and things like that. So it's going to vary a little bit depending on the person. And I think I'm actually going to make a dedicated video about this if you guys would want to see it, because I just have so much to share and ways that it's helped my relationship and ways that it can maybe help yours too. So let me know down in the comments if you would want to see that. I would be more than happy to do it. Again, as a woman, from a woman's perspective, I've learned so much about men doing this that I wish more women knew. I wish more women watched my channel. I do have some more female followers over on my Instagram, so maybe I'll start sharing things over there as well. But wow, I can't even begin to explain how thankful I am for the things that I've learned from all of you watching who have left comments and messaged me and talked about things, and then also just from doing my own research and being open-minded and really trying to see things from a man's point of view. But anyway, back to the question here. Some little things I would say that I didn't think about that I do now would be giving compliments. Men love compliments too. We all love compliments, and men don't hear them nearly as much as women do. So giving your man a compliment goes such a long way. I love giving my fiance compliments, and I can just tell by the look on his face that he loves it. Even if sometimes he acts like he doesn't. Like, you can just tell when you make someone smile and when you make someone happy. Another one would be giving your full attention to them and listening, asking them about their day, physical touch, rubbing their shoulders, scratching their head, little things like that. I would love to hear your answer to this question down in the comments, and maybe then I'll make a future video about it. Next question is your fiance an introvert as well, or did you date the opposite? So a lot of you guys know I am very introverted. I love being alone. I recharge from being alone. Social situations absolutely drain me. And I would say that my fiance is kind of the same. He's not as much of an introvert as I am, but definitely not an extrovert. He's more of an ambivert, I would say. It kind of depends, the situation he's in or who he's with. But I would say definitely leans more introverted than extroverted. Which is funny because I think a lot of you guys wouldn't think that because we both have YouTube channels. We both really value our alone time. I think that's important. Mine is definitely because I'm an only child. I was alone a lot, and I like to still be alone now. We're also both homebodies and would definitely prefer to stay home than to go out. I think having this in common is really great for our lifestyle and beneficial for our relationship in general. And at this point in time, I just don't think I would ever be able to mesh romantically with someone who was an extrovert. I even actually feel like I have a hard time being friends with people who are extroverts. Like, I'm thinking of all my friends in my head and they are all introverts. So next question is a personal question. It is your workout routine. Surprisingly, one of the most asked questions that I got in this questionnaire, maybe even more so than all the rest. And I think that's because if you follow me over on Instagram, you see that I share a lot of my workouts. So I actually have a personal trainer that I work out with 3 days a week. Honestly, the best investment I've ever made for myself in my life, physically, mentally, emotionally. Can't recommend it enough. So I work out with her 3 days a week. And then on the days where I'm not with her, I try to do some sort of cardio or workout on my own. I would say right now, probably 5 days a week is what I'm aiming for. I've been kind of inconsistent with the workouts on my own lately just because I've had so much going on in my personal life. It's been crazy, so trying to get back on board with that before my wedding, so we'll see. All right, guys, that is all I have for my Q&A. If you like this or found it helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to be in the loop for when I release new content. If you aren't subscribed already, if you are, thank you so much. I cannot believe I have 500,000 subscribers. That's just wild to me. If you would have told me that a couple of years ago, I just wouldn't have believed you. I never could have even dreamt up this life for myself. And again, I'm just so thankful and grateful that I'm able to connect with so many of you and help you guys all in some way. If you haven't already, be sure to follow me over on Instagram at Courtney Christine Ryan. I love connecting with all of you guys over on there as well. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.